If you want to learn how to make a really cool nautical wall decor piece, that's what I'm going to be showing you in this video. So follow me. What's up, Glue Dots? I'm Elaine, the Midnight Crafter. Well, I had a lot of you asking me to do some type of a nautical DIY, and I finally did. I promise I did not forget you. I was not putting you off, but I did finally come up with something that I really, really like, and I think it's unique. I don't think I've seen anyone else do it, and I cannot wait to show it to you. I think you're gonna like it as much as I do. Before we do get to it though, I would love it if you join our Glue Dot family by hitting that subscribe button right down below. Also, down below in the description box, if you're interested in entering to win a really cute little bling owl keychain, I do that drawing the first of every month, so you can enter right down there below. Well, as soon as you hit that like button, we will get this party started. First thing we're going to do after you take off all the wrapping from your little boards here, we're going to be gluing them together as closely as possible to create kind of our canvas. Now, if you don't want to buy 6 of these, which you're trying to keep the cost down maybe, you can always buy one of the box frame arts. It's a little bit smaller than this. It won't have the lines. The reason I chose these is so that I can have the lines almost give that shiplap effect. The other option is using those signs that are like an arrow, the ones that are attached by ribbon, and they have like 3 pieces and one arrow's that way, one arrow's that way, and they say various things. You can always use those and just score that pointed part and remove it. So that is another option that would save you some money. Now that option would be obviously not as thick. This is going to have some height to it because of the way this is designed, right? It's not a flat piece. I'm putting my E6000 on there, and only on one side of each of these boards so that we can put them together. So this last one doesn't need any because it's going to be glued to this one, and we don't want any glue on the end. And then we're going to also use the hot glue to put them together. So in between, and I don't like to overlap my hot glue with my E6000 because it just doesn't stick. I don't know how other people do that, but I just find that it doesn't stick. So after I get them all glued together, I'm going to use some of these various clips that I have, whatever kind of clips you may have. I know Dollar Tree just came out with some little pink ones in the craft section, so you can use those too. That's how it's going to look when they're all glued together. You're going to want to put the clips on the back side of this. It should hold together pretty well because of the hot glue temporarily. But so back here I have some spacing. If you want to add anything, maybe a popsicle stick going across where you can add a little bit more, I don't know if you need it or not. I have a big space right here that I didn't see from the front, so I'm just going to shoot some hot glue into that space. But you do want to then put your clips on and let this dry, and then we will be moving on to the next step of painting. Okay, I have all my clips on here, and just for full disclosure, because I am trying to get this project done for you guys, I am not going to let it dry 36 hours or 24 hours for that matter, but ideally I do recommend that you let it dry properly so that it holds together. Next, what we're going to be doing is painting the surface, and I had this, I think I got it at a thrift store at one point, and it is the Nautical Decor Chalky Finish, and this one is called Vintage, and I thought it just was a really nice color for sort of a nautical look. Ooh, this needs some stirring. It's old. Oh, I guess I'm not using it, because it is all dried up. Alrighty. Okay, we're going to try that again. So this time I'm going to use Folk Art Home Decor Chalk Paint by Plaid, and this one is called Tiza Mate. You guys figure that out. I don't know. Whatever. This is what I'm using. I'm hoping this will dry pretty quick. It's a nice blue color. I really like it. It's also very nautical feeling. The chalk paints are great because they dry really fast, and so we can move on. If you're like me and kind of impatient, we can move on with our projects a little quicker and get them done and knock them out and get to another one. I don't want too much to get into the creases because I want those to show. I don't want to fill them in with paint, but I do want to make sure that I get in there so that any of that design that was on there does not show through. Now, depending on what you're planning to do as far as embellishments, I'm going to go ahead and paint the sides of mine. So I have different looking sides because I have different boards. But I suppose if you would have gotten just this wooden looking one around the edge, you could just leave that and it would look pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and finish painting this and then let this dry. And now, since I am once again in a hurry, I'm going to use my hot air gun, which this is a great tool. If you guys don't have one, I just really recommend it for so many different things. It's great for drying your projects quickly or for kind of melting hot glue again if you made a mistake and need to pull things apart. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and dry this real quick and then we'll move on. I'll leave a link for this below in the description box in case, I mean, it's not the exact one, but it's another very good and highly recommended one in case you're interested. Now what we're going to do is use a plain old pencil. God, do you guys remember these? Like, you never see number 2 just wooden pencils anymore. Everything's mechanical pencils these days. So we're going to be drawing on our little boat. Since I know that I'm kind of happy with my shape, so for the sake of you guys being able to see, I'm going to do it. I'm going to scratch it into my paint so that you guys will be able to see it better. You don't need to do this. You may not even want to do this because, I don't know, it's not necessary. But again, I want you guys to be able to see what I've got going here. So I am doing this for you. I'm taking one for the team, guys. Don't be too concerned if your lines aren't perfectly straight because we're going to be going over this with the string. So the string is going to be making its own, basically, or with the twine, I should say. And that's going to be pretty much making its own line, as you know. So there you go. That's the design that I have put in to make for my little boat. Now decide where you want to start. Just to get a feel for it, I'm going to be starting on my little flag so that I can kind of understand how this is all going to fall in place and how it's going to work. So for this, I'm going to probably just use my hot glue because it will be easier, I think, to be able to sort of maneuver all of this and just it will hold it in place immediately. I'm going to just add a little bit to the start of my twine here and glue that down. Now you can either put the glue on your twine or you can put it sort of on the project. You'll probably only be able to do a little bit at a time though, so your hot glue doesn't cool off. And then just like with anything else that if you've ever used this sort of method of wrapping anything, we're just going to keep going around and around and around she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows. No, we do know. We do know that we're going to stop in the middle because we have to. So just keep following your pattern. It's easier to start from the outside like we did as opposed to starting in the center and trying to work your way out because you don't know where exact center is. Here you can see sort of how I'm working my way all the way around. You can put a little bit extra glue once you get things in place because it'll be easier to start kind of going around and around. If the area is too big or when you're initially starting, you probably want to do a little bit less glue, like I said, so it doesn't cool off. And then when you get down to the very end, just make sure it's pressed down in there and cut that last little piece off. So we're going to be doing exactly what we did here on our other shapes as well, and on the bottom one, until we get this whole thing filled in. So work on that and see you in a bit. I'm coming to the end right now, and I gotta tell you, it was really, really helpful. Swear guys, I'm not trying to push the heat tool on you for any reason other than it was extremely helpful, because sometimes with the hot glue, you get parts that cool off and they clump, and then you got to heat them up again. And initially I was trying to do that with the tip of my glue gun, but it wasn't really very effective. So what I started to do is just heat up the glue with my hot air gun, and then I was perfectly able to get those pieces in place. So just saying, if it's something you have or something you're thinking about getting, super, super useful. This is a great thing to do while you're listening to like a book on like Audible or something. Alrighty, so next we're gonna work on some of the embellishments. You can now choose kind of some options. Here's some things that I thought about. I don't know if I'm going to do them. One of them, I was going to use some Mod Podge and kind of paint it on sort of down here a little bit, and then sprinkle some of this natural colored sand. So the reason I decided not to do that is because I feel like the colors are so similar and it's going to take away from this. But if you like that look, or if you want to maybe use some white sand or something, it could look really, really cool. But I am actually going to forgo that step. Temporarily, I'm going to put this aside. Now, if you have some of the fuzzies, I don't know if you can see on this that it has a lot of fuzzies on it, you can take a lighter and kind of go over that. Be careful not to hold it in any one place too long and burn your actual wood pieces, but you can kind of go over surface here and it will burn off some of those little pieces. So I'm going to put this aside, and I'm going to do a little trick that I saw on J Money's channel. She took one of these hula skirts. This is the adult size hula skirt. So what Jay did is took the hula skirt and taped it down. I didn't plan ahead and bring any tape in here, so I'm just going to use my Scotch tape, but it's a good idea if you have some masking tape or painter's tape or something to kind of hold this in place, just to make it a little easier for you to work with. Scotch tape is really not optimal, but it's what I have in front of me. And then you can do this with raffia as well, but I'm going to do it with this because I feel like these pieces are much nicer and straighter and obviously more even length than the raffia would be that you would buy. And then we're just going to be braiding these. So I'm taking my 3 sections and I'm going to go ahead and braid them loosely. And the reason we're doing it loosely is because we want the braid to be kind of a little bigger. What I'm going to be doing for mine, and it's up to you if you like the way it looks, I'm going to be putting this around the outer edge of my little artwork piece. Try as best you can to sort of keep your braid even all the way down and as uniform as possible. And when you get down to the very bottom, just put a little bit of hot glue there to keep it from unraveling on you. I'm going to go as far down as I possibly can. You're going to want to do the same at the top here because we're going to obviously need to take it off this string. Then cut your braid off and cut the extra little pieces off the end, and you should have a piece like this. Now I'm going to make a few of those. It looks like I'll probably need to make 4 of them to go around each of these edges, and I'll be gluing this down around the side. Okay, so now that I have my 4 braids done, I'm going to go around and start gluing them. You can glue them so that they kind of hang over the edge and then overlap, or you can just start at the end. I'm just going to start right here at the edge and put some of my hot glue and attach this all the way around. And I'm kind of centering it in the middle of the piece. Or if you want to, you can do 2 braids and I don't know, be creative. So another embellishment I'm considering is this fishing net. It could be kind of fun to have this draping over a little section. I don't know, I just kind of thought it might be kind of fun to add it. So I'm going to kind of play with this a little bit and see how I might add this on. And then I'm just going to glue on a few shells. I don't know that this bag was actually from Dollar Tree, I'm not really sure, but there's all different kind of shells in it, and I'm just going to sort of place them around. Now would also be, once you get all these things placed, maybe before you put this net on, in case you got any scratches in your paint, which I don't know if you can see or not, but I did get a few little scratches in my paint, and that is really because I didn't allow it proper dry time. When you use chalk paint, after a few weeks, it will be so tough, nothing will scratch it. But it does take some time for it to really cure properly. One little tip I'd like to give you on touching up, don't just touch up the spot, but spread it out onto the canvas a little bit, because sometimes you can see the different touch-up marks. So if you spread it out, especially on a project like this that has a little more of a sort of rustic feel to it, you'll never notice that it was touched up. It'll just look like kind of some texture to your painting. So I'm going to touch up my little mistakes there, my little scratches, and play with some of these embellishments, and then you can check this out. And if you guys are getting value from my channel, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. Let me know what you ended up doing, or if you're going to try this or whatever. I know a lot of you really wanted nautical and asked me for it, and I really appreciate your patience in waiting for me to do it. So I guess next we're going to be heading into fall decor. Alrighty, let's go check it out.